and welcome to Thinking Outside the Box with me, Tim Box.
And me, Britt Box.
We talk about all things related to your mental health and emotional well-being and how to navigate your own mind in these strange times. We're not doctors, so don't confuse our advice for medical advice. And even though we come at this with a slightly more light-hearted approach, please don't think we trivialise any of the issues we talk about, because we certainly don't. But because we come from a different perspective, we call the podcast Thinking Outside the Box. Okay.
You're getting good at that.
I'm getting quite smooth with it. I'm trying to change it up ever so slightly each time.
No, just don't change it too much, because then you won't know what you're saying.
I know. Well, to be fair, that's quite frequently I find myself in that position.
What you don't realise, listeners, is before we hit record, Tim's like, hang on.
I have to, what did I say? What do I say? What's the script? Anyway, so episode 14.
Indeed.
Britt, how's your sleeping?
Never had any complaints.
That's so cheesy. Wow,
it's all I could do.
Yeah, brilliant.
You didn't warn me you were going to try and pull that on me.
I'm mixing it up. I just said that. I've already said I'm mixing it up.
Do you know what? Right, so I'm assuming then today's topic is sleep.
It is indeed.
Yeah, I'm quite tired this morning.
Are you actually? Brilliant.
I'm tired because I woke up earlier than I would normally wake up. You and I have different schedules. I'm sure we'll talk about this, but you and I have very different sleeping schedules.
We do.
And this morning I woke up probably about an hour and a bit more earlier than I would normally wake up. So as a result, right. I'm tired.
I sort of woke you up a bit.
Yeah, you did. Yes.
Well,
you did.
Okay, so you did that thing of I was laying there about to get out of bed, and you sort of put your arm across and reached out for me to hold your hand. I'm like, okay, she's awake. I can literally jump up and jump on top of her then, and bounce up and down. But I was mistaken. You were I was
just patting you.
Was it another in your sleep? Because you woke up yesterday, was it? You had your hands holding an imaginary carol sheet.
I did. I'm going to talk about my dreams. Oh, don't worry. Dreams will feature in this podcast heavily, but I will be talking about that. Do you remember that time I punched you in my sleep?
Vaguely. It's not uncommon. I don't mention it anymore. It's like, which time was that? Like the other night when you dropped your weighted blanket on me for some random reason. I
didn't realise it was on top of you. Anyway, this isn't helping anybody. Let's carry on.
We've rambled right from the word go here. But so I'm normally quite a good sleeper.
Yes.
Yeah, if I start there. And
I thought you were going to say, so I'm a sleep expert.
No, I'm not a sleep. Although funny enough, when I started out, first when I was in the hypnotherapy profession, I became what am I trying to say? Became an associate of a practice in Harley Street with the amazing Zoe Clues.
Yes, you did.
Her hypnotherapy practice in Harley Street has been going many, many years. It's very well established and very well known. And I was an associate of the practice for about 3 years. And she originally got me into the practice to be the sleep expert.
I remember this.
Because I was at that time doing a lot of work with
a lot of napping.
And I was just doing a lot of work on sleep. So she got me in to be the sleep expert. I tell you why I was doing a lot of work with sleep, though, because as I've mentioned before, I'm sure on the podcast, I built my business by doing a lot of business networking.
Yes.
And those meetings
were at 5 a.m. isn't it?
Well, you've got to get up at about 4:30, 5 o'clock to get to the meeting for 6 o'clock and things like that. And
this is why I stopped going networking.
One of the big reasons, I feel, yeah. But the thing was, I was seeing a lot of people who were suffering with sleep issues.
Yeah.
And I would go there of a Tuesday morning or whatever, talk about people's sleep issues, and they'd all be sitting there.
Yawning.
Yeah, with half asleep with their head on the table. And they'd think, Christ, yeah, I need some help with my sleep. Because I'm not. But it was just that thing where...
I'll tell you something that helps sleep. Networking coffee. That stuff is like the black tar of existence that wakes you up like a slap round the face with a wet fish. It's just, yeah.
But so this is it. So I saw a lot of people for that just because of the circles I was moving in, I think. But I still do a lot of work with people with sleep. And I'll tell you something. I looked up the word cornerstone with this podcast because I wanted to refer to this as the cornerstone of mental health work is work with sleep. and I did confirm cornerstone is the correct word. That
okay, good. That's fine then.
No, but it's a key element of any mental health work is to make sure you're getting a good night's sleep, because sleep is that thing that kind of influences us across the board. Yeah. It's like if we've got an issue, we might be losing sleep, and if we're losing sleep, it might be exacerbating the issue. Yeah, it leaves us emotionally fraught.
I saw a great thing on the internet once that was, does everyone hate me, or do I just need a nap?
Brilliant. And probably
I felt
the latter.
that in my soul. I am the person, as we've established on this podcast. On the outward appearance, you may think I'm a confident, I'm a terribly insecure person, and I will, at the drop of a hat, think my best friends despise me. So when I get a bit antsy about things, I'm like, you know what? I think I need to go to sleep.
And you do often need a nap. That's fair to say.
I do often need a nap. A nap and some dino-shaped vegan nuggets. I'm basically Baby Yoda.
A couple of years ago, I changed my sleep schedule, if you like. So I decided to deliberately schedule in more time to sleep at night.
You were getting a bit, Margaret Thatcher about it.
I was being that person who said, "Well, I can get by on 6 hours sleep. I'm fine." I mean, Margaret Thatcher was 4 hours sleep, wasn't she? But then she did eventually get Alzheimer's, so maybe that's not unrelated. No, but yeah, and I was doing like six and a half hours sleep, and that was kind of my target. I was happy with that. And then you realise, hang on, why am I having to take a 10-minute nap before my next client? And the difference when I scheduled in 7.5 to 8 hours sleep rather than 6.5 to 7 hours sleep was just massive.
Night and day.
Yeah.
See, I was the opposite, weirdly. So, I mean, you know me, I like to sleep, I like a bit of a lay-in. And then I realised that, okay, so the average is 8 hours, isn't it? That's what they say we should get.
Yeah, that's pretty standard.
And I kind of realised that if I had less than 9.5 to 10 hours, no, honestly, if I had less than 9.5 to 10, I couldn't focus. Yeah. I wasn't a nice person. I snacked more. I was really, really hungry. I was just, I didn't work as well, really, just as everyday thing. But I have been living by this thing of 8 hours is the norm. 8 hours is the norm. Anything more than that and you're lazy. Any lay-in and you're lazy. So I had this in my head of, I'm not allowed to sleep that much. Yeah. And then I went, balls to that. If I need 9.5 to 10 hours sleep, I will schedule in 9.5 to 10 hours sleep. And I do, and I feel much, much better for it.
It's what we often say, isn't it? Listen to you. What do you need? And the scientists will give us great reasons for exactly what we should be getting and why we should be getting it. And I certainly wouldn't necessarily just be throwing out the advice of the scientists when it comes to deciding to not get as much sleep as is recommended, because you can do yourself damage if you take that decision. But if you feel you need more sleep, get some more sleep.
Exactly.
And try and construct a life that is permitted, that's allowed, that's available to you. You know?
And that's what I did. I feel it's like the same people who put on the side of a pack of Oreos that 2 is a serving suggestion. It's just a suggestion, guys. It's just a mere suggestion. You make the rules.
Exactly, where Oreos are concerned.
I think I could eat a whole pack of Oreos, just in one go.
See, I don't want to drift off topic, but I don't really like Oreos.
I don't understand this. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
But anyway, coming back onto the
I'm
topic
a bit hungry. That's
is that what it is? We've made the mistake of starting this when you're a bit peckish. I should say, I'm going to bring you up on something you said there. The average is 8. Yeah. The recommended is 8. Yeah. I'll tell you right now, though, the average amount of sleep that the average human being is getting is not 8 hours sleep. Okay, because I see, the thing of the thousands of clients I've seen over the last 10 years, I've asked every single one of them, how is your sleeping? I used to ask them, how do you sleep? But then people would keep saying, on my side, yeah, or in a bed, or, that sort of thing. And I always follow up the question with, so when you wake to get on with your day, do you feel rested? Or could you use more sleep? Yeah. Because for me, that's the key factor there.
It doesn't matter how long you've been sleeping, it's just how you feel afterwards.
And I would probably say there's been less than 50 of the thousands of people I've seen that have given me an answer that suggests to me, I think you're getting enough sleep. Because most people just don't.
No.
We do this thing where we recharge our batteries up to about, 60, 70%. Our mind says, okay, I can get going now. We wake up, we get on with the day because we've got a busy day ahead. You know, we've all got busy lives. We crack on. And then by the end of the day, we're doing that thing where we're falling asleep on the sofa because...
Just resting my eyes.
Yeah, we've run out of battery. You know, we literally didn't charge it up enough to get through the whole day. We charged it up enough to get going in the morning. And that seems to be the habit we get in because sleep is the first thing we sacrifice when it comes to our time.
Yeah.
If we've not got enough done, okay, I'll stay up a bit late and work a bit late, or I'll get up early tomorrow, or we're just not sleeping when we're laying there in bed because our mind is ruminating or working anyway.
Yeah.
You know? And it just is that first thing that we assume we can get rid of. And
it's that awful rhetoric that we hear a lot in the sort of business community of, you know, oh, you know, you just sacrifice the hours, you sleep when you're dead. No, I'll die quicker if I don't sleep now.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? You're dead for a lot longer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the time here is, it's a smaller percentage, isn't it? Yeah. Look, here's the thing. The bottom line for why I think sleep is so important mental health-wise, we have this thing that we do when we face... I would say a challenge, but I don't mean a challenge. I just mean anything, like, you know, taking the bins out. It doesn't mean, I don't mean climbing Mount Everest. I just mean doing any of the functional things we do from day to day. Our mind will do a thing that I refer to as a cognitive assessment, which is like a self-audit.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it goes on in the background. It's not like we're aware of it tremendously, but we do this thing. Do I have the resources to face this challenge?
Right.
So, and we'll all look at things at times and say, I don't think I can handle that. Yeah. But if we are going through the day-to-day stuff and we haven't had enough rest, then we're more prone to look at our challenges and say, I don't have the resources to deal with that.
Is that why I cry when I'm tired?
It can be.
Yeah. I get really emotional when I'm tired.
Well, okay, without wishing to get too tedious, and I don't want to go into boring stuff.
No.
I'm
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that. And yet, there's three possible responses if you look at something and you say, I can't handle it. Right? Three major ones anyway. First one is what I would call shutdown.
Yeah.
You say, right, not doing that till I'm away, you know. So it's like me when I look at Tower of Terror. I'm like, no, can't handle that.
Not doing that,
Second one is meltdown, which is a demonstrable emotional response. So it could be bursting into tears.
Yes.
And it's a little bit of us saying, I don't have the resources, but I know that if I demonstrate distress, like tears, then someone else will come and bring me their resources, even handle this challenge for me. You know?
That's never happened. I've just cried and gone to bed.
Oh, but when you think about when you were a kid, so I'm sure that when you cried at some point in your life, your mum came and helped you out, or your nan came and helped you out, and we learn that as a strategy. So if you've ever had that feeling,
now I have you.
Well, exactly. Here I am. Yeah, there's the replacement.
You hear me crying, and you're like, God,
and then I grab my shield and I come into the room. What do you need?
And you open that bottle of vanilla.
You needed that vanilla bottle, right? Didn't you?
Did,
see?
yes.
And there I was.
Hero.
Where am I talking about? I've gone. You know what you've done? You've made me think about Captain America, and now I'm gone.
Sent you.
Yeah,
gone.
I'm just
cognitive assessment.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
the three different.
So meltdown is the second one. The third one is, I sort of refer to it as breakdown. Sounds a bit dramatic, but that is where we fill with adrenaline.
Oh, okay.
To go into the
fight
or flight. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anytime we feel under threat, we might have the threat response, which is heart beating faster, muscles tensing up, getting ready for action.
Grabbing your shield.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why when we are constantly feeling overwhelmed, we can feel constantly adrenalized and in an anxiety state.
I'm with you.
Okay, so this is why it's a good idea to, as often as possible, look at the challenges and have the answer come back from your subconscious. Yes, I can deal with this.
Yeah.
Because then it doesn't leave us vulnerable to these kind of emergency responses.
But you have to be rested for that.
It is one of the huge metrics that come into play, whether I pass or fail my cognitive assessment. Yeah.
Okay.
So the three factors are: how big is the challenge?
Yeah.
How good am I at facing challenges? How close to my best am I?
Okay.
They're the three. Bottom one, how close to my best am I? That's all about your sleep and your rest and how you're looking after yourself.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, you might be the best person, the greatest hero in the land, facing a challenge you know you can take on because you've done it hundreds of times before.
Yeah.
But if you've only got like a 5% battery charge, you might struggle.
Do you find that this changes with age? Because I can remember being 19, 20.
I can't.
It was a long, long time ago for you. I can remember being about 19, 20, and I had two jobs, right?
Yeah.
So we spoke about this in the what I learned from my past selves. Very good episode. If you haven't heard it, go have a listen. But at one stage in my life, I was working in a shop during the day that rhymes with Schmez accessories.
Wow.
I was working there. And then I was supervising a restaurant in the evening. And then I would go out, and I very much was on the belief of, well, if I get home by 4, I'll be able to be at work by 9. Because
God.
I lived pretty much in town. So all I had to do was just get up, shower, maybe get dressed and go out to work. So in my head, I was like, right, if I get back in by 4, I can be at work by 9. And I did this, and I was never tired. And is that youth? Is that alcohol? What is that?
I don't know what it is, but to be fair, when we're younger, we got more energy. There's no doubt about that, and probably as well, we are.
If I tried that now, RIP, like certified.
Yeah, definitely. But there is that something when we're younger, we have a larger window of like temperature that we can sleep in.
Okay.
See, like teenagers need more, or they sleep longer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
maybe I just never go out of that phase.
Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe I'm just perpetually a teenager.
So it's very likely you were probably sleeping better in terms of you got in unconscious, waking up, right, let's go to work. You know? But yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I'm not a doctor or a medical person or a nutritionist, so I couldn't give you the exact science behind that. But I know that as in our youth, we've got that kind of greater resilience in terms of recovery time, haven't we? And probably as well, we're just a little bit better at getting going and getting into action. Yeah. Because I guess we're trained in that way when we're younger as well, aren't we?
Well, like on the way to work, I used to definitely grab a can of Red Bull. And I think if I had one of those now, I'd have a legit cardiac arrest. I just think.
I haven't had a Red Bull in years. I mean, I was an adult when Red Bull came out. You know what I mean? I remember when they first released Red Bull.
Do you know what I always find really funny with Red Bull? So Red Bull speeds your heart rate up, obviously. And on the can, it says, do not mix with alcohol. And what do? Vodka Red Bull. We are not a species built to last.
I remember when they first came out, and I was like, I was at the garage, and I thought, I'll try that new drink that's come out, the energy drink. And I took it to the counter, and I was expecting it to be like something, I think it's something like 30p for a can of drink. You know, this was a long time ago, I should stress. And it was like £1.10. I was like, I'm putting that back. I literally didn't buy it.
I can remember, just on that, completely off topic, but I remember I went through a phase of just really liking like these nutty cereal bar type things. Like I just loved them. And I would have one for breakfast every morning. And I picked one up and I took it to the till, and the woman scanned it, and genuinely it was like £2 something. And she went, bloody hell, for that? And I was like, you are not doing your job well, Doris.
Get your coat, Doris. We're letting you go. This isn't for you. I'm just going to say as well, that's twice in the first 20 minutes you've segued into food.
Oh my God.
Should we have had a snack before we started?
Sorry, carry on.
No, that's right. But yeah, anyway, so this is the reason why it's important to be getting your sleep.
Yes.
It impacts massively on your mental health, your emotional well-being. There's no doubt about it. So I thought what we could talk about, because people talk about sleep hygiene a lot, the things that we do to help us sleep, to get our environment right. I already mentioned about, I alluded to that thing about temperature.
Yes.
So there is apparently, again, you'd have to speak to a proper, scientist.
An actual sleep
expert in terms of the science behind it, about what the exact temperature range is.
Right.
But as we get older, that temperature range narrows.
Okay.
Yeah. So as a teenager, we can literally sleep in a sauna. Yeah. And as we get older, and by the time you reach my age, you have to have the temperature exactly right, or it doesn't. I won't get to sleep.
Don't touch the thermostat.
Exactly, yeah. And I think as well, apparently, cold temperatures are easier to sleep in than warm temperatures. Apparently,
interesting. So I had an ex, and he could only sleep. Genuinely, his room was always really, really hot. His bed was by the window, and he would have the window open. So he would be under the covers, but he would have the cool air on his face almost, and that's how he had to sleep.
So this is I cannot get on board. This upsets me. Yeah, I cannot get on board with a window wide open at night. I mean, okay, I get it. If it's a hot night, and it really is stifling, let's open the window because there's no breeze.
This was all throughout the year.
In the winter time, with the window open, and also you get some people, they've got the heating full on and the window wide open.
Yeah, like he did.
But I'm like, what what are you trying to? What's the get a fan? You know what I mean? That can achieve that.
Turn the heating down.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you could turn the heating down if you just had a fan blowing some moderately. I don't know, but it just seems so alien to because I can sleep on the.
We're going to talk about your sleep. We're going to talk about you.
But I do feel like I'd be laying there too annoyed if you had to have the window open. I'd be. Yeah.
Remember in Iowa though, we had to have the door open.
That was crazy.
That was insane.
During the polar vortex, when it was minus 30?
We were in the polar vortex. There was a polar vortex going through Iowa, Chicago, all of that kind of realms, Illinois, and we were in Iowa at the time that happened. We saw the lake in Chicago completely frozen over. It was insane. The house we were staying in had a really old heating system, aka you can't turn it off; it's either off or on. Yeah. And these really big, ornate, old radiators. They were stunning. Yeah. They were stunning. But the room and the house was so hot to the point where I had the door open and I could see, what was it, 4 feet of snow outside or something ridiculous. But I had to have the door open just to permeate the heat in some way.
It was crazy as well because we had the door wide open. The snow was piled up like a little wall for the first couple of feet, and we could stand there in the doorway and not be cold, even though if we'd have stepped outside. My ears would have cracked off.
Yeah, I remember we went outside and I tried to take photos. So I took my glove off and I could only take about 5 or 6 photos before my hand started physically hurting with the cold. But yet we had the door open and there you go. That was borderline too hot for me to sleep, so I can understand the temperature thing there.
I never did quite understand A, how they got it that hot in the house, and B, why we couldn't stop it being that
and see how they could afford it being that
That's
hot.
true, because the heating was just going constant. Anyway, let's not drift down that road.
Do you know what? I might post a picture of the Iowa thing when we
you should do, because it was absolutely beautiful, wasn't
Stunning.
It? But freezing as.
Middle of nowhere.
Turns out my ears are a long way from my body, because I discovered that when I went outside.
And they...
Okay, so sleep hygiene though.
Yes.
So light is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So and I mean a particular type of light as well, isn't it? If you have your devices, blue light coming from your phone or your iPad.
Yeah,
I think Kindles are all right, aren't they?
Yeah, Kindles. They literally were made. I don't know if the first generation was, but anyway, they were literally made without that blue light.
Yeah.
So you could read specifically in sunlight, because obviously it just makes it a lot easier to read. But then you don't have blue light before you go to bed, because I know there are studies out there. Please go Google it and have a look at actual official studies. But the exposure to blue light before bed can actually, really, really, really mess up your sleep, which is why you get some people who wear, like our friend Loz, who now has these red tinted glasses that stop her absorbing the blue light in the evenings when she's looking at her phone.
Wow, how cool. Well, this is the thing as well, coming off of your devices early on, so leaving some time when you're not on them. I know many of us will be like, I'll just check Facebook before I go to bed.
Yeah, why? What are you going to do? You're going to find out that your neighbour, there's getting a new fence. Like, oh, great, cool. I'll sleep easy tonight. There's no good can come from checking social media, emails, or anything on your phone just before you go to sleep, because you can't do anything about it.
Well, this is the thing, but that's not necessarily sleep hygiene. That's kind of managing your emotional state when you go to bed. The stuff we're talking about as well, though, things like eating too late. So if you have a snack or a drink before bed, then you're kind of stressing your system, because it's digesting, or you might get up to need the loo and things like that. Mm-hmm. So things like that are another factor at play.
Yeah.
I don't know what else. We said light, temperature, sound as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of people get bothered by certain sounds that are going on at night.
Light and sound are two of the big things for me, and that's why I have my own kind of sleep admin. So I will always sleep with an eye mask on. Mm-hmm. I will always sleep with an eye mask on, because I find that any light will annoy me. And I know it's a case of it's annoying me rather than it's the light that's keeping me awake. I do know that. But any kind of noises. So we live in a little village, and there was an issue with some of the pipes in the village. There is a point to this, I promise. And we had trucks going in and out of the village 24 hours a day to try and fix this pipe work, because it was emergency pipe work. But they had to go past our house, and it was every, 20 minutes they were coming past. And every time they went past, it would wake me up.
Yeah.
It would wake me up. And I don't, again, I think it's just because it annoyed me.
Yeah,
because you slept through it all right.
I did sleep through it, yes.
So I wore earplugs.
Yeah.
And I tend to wear earplugs when we go away as well, because it's different sounds. It's different things. You're smirking at me. Why are you smirking?
I'm smirking because we have this running joke about your sleep admin.
Yes.
So you have an eye mask to block out the light, which works really well for you.
Yes.
You have earplugs to block out the sound, which
Yes.
you found works well for you as well.
Yes.
You also have your weighted blanket.
Yes.
Which kind of pins you to the bed in some fashion.
I have a V-shaped pillow.
A V-shaped pillow. Yeah, you had to change your pillow.
I can't have a normal pillow.
The normal pillow wasn't doing it, was it?
I also spray my pillow with a lavender scented essential oil spray.
Also, you've got this thing at the moment where you've got your braces. You're having to really meticulously brush your teeth every night. So there's a lot of that going on.
There's a lot. It takes about 10 minutes just to brush my teeth to get in bed. I always have to have water by the bed as well. Have to have water by the bed because I sip water when I get up countless times to go for a wee.
And you always write in your journal
Write in my journal, yeah.
And now you've added another extra bit of sleep. I've been doing a little bit of reading before.
I find that a little bit of reading of something nice before I go to sleep really, really helps me.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes I'll have white noise playing as well.
Yeah.
And just as a comparative, what my husband needs to sleep to just be still.
Yeah, if I stop talking, really, that's what
I was going to say in my head, I was like, all he needs is a blanket, but you don't even need that. You just have to stop moving and stop talking. Honestly, you know how like I hear about parents of toddlers, right? And they know that if the toddler's quiet for any point of time, something's going wrong. Something's happening. Whereas I know if you go quiet, you're asleep.
Brilliant. But the thing, I think it would be weird if, having spent many years talking to people about sleep, having actually been a sleep expert at the hypnotherapy practice, having seen so many clients to help them with it, it'd be weird if some of that information hadn't sort of filtered into my mind and done some good for me.
Yeah, oh no, so, I've no doubt about it. And I say it with envy more than anything, because I look at you and you'll be asleep before I've even finished my sentence.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
That might be more down to you than me.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay. But I think, people say, so what are you doing then? What do you do to get to sleep so well? The answer is I do nothing. Yeah. I think there's a misconception that people who sleep well are really good at sleeping. I think we're just good at stopping. And stopping doing and stopping our mind from running on.
Yes.
I think for me, sleep is what happens to a human being when it gets dark. Okay, that's it. Because you put your head on the pillow and close your eyes, and it's dark. My mind does not misinterpret that as a signal to start thinking about things.
No.
Yeah, it says, right, we're here to go unconscious. I can stop doing everything, and when I stop doing everything and it's dark, I will go to sleep.
Is this why people who work night shifts struggle?
It can be, yeah. Night shift. Oh God, we could talk about night shifts.
Because my mum worked night shift,
yeah,
and she would sleep during the day, and we had to have blackout blinds, and it was all very, you had to be really quiet during the day.
Well, okay, so this is the perfect time to talk about basics of sleep in terms of a little bit of semi-science.
Okay? Oh, go on then.
So when it gets dark, we as human beings produce this stuff called melatonin. Melatonin is what puts us to sleep. Okay, so in the dark, we're going to produce melatonin, we're going to go to sleep.
Like a hormone.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, now you're quizzing beyond my knowledge. I know the name of it. Don't ask me exactly what category it falls under. I think it
is a hormone.
Anyway. But the only thing that really counteracts that is the production of cortisol, which is the stress hormone. Okay. Now, we produce cortisol, anything that might stress us. So, food digesting is a stressor.
Okay.
But the main thing we're talking about here is thinking about things or ruminating about things or not stopping doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So the idea is that when it gets dark, we produce melatonin. And as a result, so the melatonin increases and we stop doing things. So the cortisol diminishes. Right. And it's like a little seesaw. Melatonin goes up, cortisol goes down, and we go unconscious.
Okay.
Then when the sun comes up, melatonin diminishes. It stifles the production of melatonin.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we start to think about things. We start to, wake up, and the cortisol increases as we start to get going. And then the seesaw goes the other way.
So cortisol isn't stress.
It's a stress hormone.
Stress hormone.
Yeah. It's what we produce. Well, any sort of stressor, we produce cortisol.
Okay.
And the idea, when we're not sleeping but we're exhausted, you know, like, so like if we're jet lagged, you know, that sort of jet lag feeling of buzzing but being really exhausted.
It's so
then
weird.
All it is that melatonin is high, but cortisol is also high. You know, and any insomniac will know that feeling of being really desperate for sleep but unable to sleep.
Yeah.
And it's simply because whatever's producing cortisol isn't shutting down.
Yeah.
And when I say whatever's producing, I don't mean a bit of your body's broken. I mean your mind is doing something to stress you out.
Right.
And people often say to me, well, I'm not thinking about anything. But what they're doing is getting stressed about the fact they're not sleeping. Yeah.
You know I do that.
Yeah.
Like I'll get, for me as well, it's if I know, because we've obviously discussed I sleep a little bit longer, so I don't tend to get up super duper early.
Yeah.
But if I know I've got to get up early for something, if we're going on holiday, or if I've got to go to London, or if you know, if I've got to be somewhere and I have to wake up earlier than usual, I start stressing the night before about not even waking up, because I don't think I'm going to miss it, because I put my trust in technology that my alarm will go off. Yeah. But that I need to go to sleep right now, because then I'll get 8 hours and 27 minutes, and then like an hour later it'll be like, right now I'm on 7 hours and 27 minutes.
That's the worst thing, when we're watching the clock and we know that even if we go unconscious right now, I'm not going to get enough sleep to feel good the next day.
I'm going to feel tired. I'm still going to wake up and feel tired.
And that's what keeps you awake, because your mind's getting busy concerning itself with the fact that you're not asleep yet.
I think that's really, like, that's just unfair.
Yeah, but so much about mental health is like a vicious circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get locked in that feedback loop, and that's why we struggle. That's why the normal everyday things that might stress us out or concern us suddenly become huge worries, because we're stressing about not sleeping, which stops us sleeping. We're anxious about feeling anxious, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah. And all those things.
Our depression is making us depressed.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, because we have this ability to look at the big picture and ruminate over the existential meaning behind everything, that all the little things that happen, instead of just letting them be and letting them pass us by and as a transient emotion or feeling from that moment, we dwell on them and we create more of them as a result of it. You know?
Also, as human beings, we're hardwired to look for patterns in things. So if we have a sleepless night, we have a sleepless night. But then if the following night we're knackered and we still struggle to get to sleep because we were stressed about not sleeping the night before, we're now like, right, well, I can't sleep anymore. You buy into that feeling of, there's something wrong with me.
Yeah. Well, the thing is as well, lack of sleep, like long-term lack of sleep, like perpetual lack of sleep, can do us a real load of damage. You know, there's a guy, a Harvard professor, forget his name now, brought out a lot of research recently in the last few years about the value of a certain amount of sleep, because we have to do this thing. When we're doing stuff in the day, our brain literally produces waste, like physical waste that we have to disperse. Again, I'm going to say via our lymphatic system. I probably got that wrong. Again, not a doctor. Have we mentioned that before?
Oh, we don't know how the brain works. We haven't got a clue.
But the point being that if we don't get the right sort of sleep, then that doesn't disperse. So our brain's just filling up with chemicals that are basically poisoning ourselves. Yeah, he described it as a low-level brain damage that we do to ourselves.
Bloody hell!
I know, which is really like intimidating sort of way of putting it, but. Point being, this is why if we go too long without sleep, you know, we start to see things and hear things and have thoughts. Yeah, exactly. It's one of the worst forms of torture is sleep.
Well, I was going to say, they literally used it as a torture device, was constantly waking someone. Like, I swear to God, like, that's how you would get me to turn full serial killer.
Really?
Oh, you stopped me sleeping?
I feel like they've captured you and they're going to torture you. And the person in charge of your torture would be talking to their commanding officer saying, are you sure you want to carry on? She's getting really annoyed now. She's really, you know, she's going to do something bad.
She's getting really violent.
It seems to be upsetting her quite badly.
I know I am not a nice person when I'm tired. So the point where, so you know this because I've explained this to you, and I had to explain this to you before we went on our first long haul flight together. So...
when you sat me down and had a serious chat with me.
I had a serious chat with you because I know, how can I put this delicately? After a long haul flight, I am a massive bitch. I am not a nice human being to be around.
You have like a trifecta of circumstances that create the demon. It is tired.
Yeah.
Hungry, and
mildly inconvenienced. Yeah, exactly that. But like, I remember my first, So here's the thing. I'm Canadian, right? But I'm a Canadian that hasn't been back to Canada in a really long time. But when I was younger, I would do long haul flights to and from Canada all the time. But I don't remember them.
No.
I very, very vaguely remember, but I don't remember the experience. So my first long haul flight as an adult that I could remember, I went to Las Vegas. And, you know, one of the best cities in the world, in my opinion. Absolutely love Vegas. I know you have differing opinions on Vegas, but
mixed feelings.
but I love it. And I got to Vegas after this long haul flight, and the taxi took us to the hotel. Got to the hotel, and then we were like, right, shall we go have a look at the Strip? Then, you know, the world famous Las Vegas Strip. I was tired. I didn't want to, but it was also like 4 p.m. or something ridiculous, so I couldn't just go to sleep. I'd like to point out I wasn't with you, so you didn't get to see this majesty. But got to the Strip, and I genuinely looked up and down the road, and I said out loud, "Is this it?"
You were unimpressed.
I was massively unimpressed
by one of the most exciting cities in the world.
I literally said, "Is this it?" So I went and had some food. I got a burger, and then I went to sleep, and I slept for like 16 hours or something. And then I woke up and I had the best time in Vegas, and I now maintain that Vegas is one of my favourite places in the world. But I was not, you know.
Well, it just shows you how your perception can be distorted by a lack of sleep.
Tired. Yeah. And I had the same thing when we got to Barbados. I remember we got, it didn't help. We got there and it was in the middle of a tropical storm and it was raining. And I remember we sat in our room and I was like, it's raining and I don't like it. It's not nice. And then again, I slept, I woke up, I loved it. Like, I just know after a long haul flight, I'm not the best.
Well, this is the thing. So it's like, I think the world record for not sleeping is 11 days.
Christ!
You know, and I know it sounds like a horrific proposition, but when you think about it, you know, we can go without food for how long did David Blaine go in that crate above?
I don't believe in David Blaine.
I feel this is a topic for another podcast. You don't believe in David? What, in his existence, or what? Like he's a. Do I need to produce David? Do I need to get a visit from David Blaine to confirm he exists?
There's something about him. I don't believe in it. I don't know.
I want to entitle this episode, I Don't Believe in David Blaine, just randomly.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure on him.
Okay, I feel we're going to revisit this topic. Anyway.
Sorry.
But you can go without food for a long time.
I think it's like 2 weeks, but you can't go without, I think liquids is 3 days.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. But after 11 days, any more than that, then you're kind of starting to die then, you know. Do you know what I mean? It's like you can't just go without sleep. So it is important. But having said that, I feel like we put an undue amount of pressure on the people listening to this podcast who are like, oh, I'll listen to the sleep one because I struggle with my sleep. And now we're just terrifying the hell out of them and they're going to be laying awake in bed at night thinking, I've got to get to sleep or I'm going to die. We do need to kind of depotentiate that idea a little bit, which we will do as we go along, hopefully. But what I want to talk about, because we were talking about stress being the antidote to the melatonin in your system. So the things that might stress us out, because all of this sleep hygiene stuff we talked about, you know, temperature, etc. It has so much impact, but the thing that has the biggest impact is what's going on in your mind
internally.
Yeah, exactly, because that's the thing that will create the most amount of cortisol for you, is the things that you're emotionally stressing about. So the first thing, ruminating, worrying.
It's a good word.
I know, I like the word ruminating. It's like a fancy way of saying worrying. Things that things that might go wrong tomorrow, things that did go wrong today, you know, just kind of worrying, stuff like that. I mean, I went through a phase where I would spend a lot of time worrying rather than sleeping, and it just impacts terribly upon you. But then you get to realise that nothing that you're thinking about you can take any action on. No,
you're laying in bed, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I say this. I'm very good at saying the thing and not doing the thing, but it's like I said, why? Because I remember, you know, not that long ago, one of us got a bit of a dodgy email just before bed, and so I'll just check the emails, and it was like, and then we were thinking about that thing all night, and that's one of the reasons why I say don't check it. You know, what you don't know can't hurt you till the morning.
Well, that's it. You can't take any action on it until
No.
the morning as well. But that's worth noting as well, because some people will check their emails last thing. Some people will have a notebook by their bed to write ideas down that they have, things they got to do. You know? And there is danger there. Probably what's happening there is that our mind hasn't got the idea that we're there to do nothing. It's trying to do the last safety checks about everything that we're doing tomorrow or that we've done today. And as a result, your mind's just getting busy at that point rather than not getting busy, you know? So like I got into the habit of writing my things to do tomorrow when I finished work rather than when I was going to bed. So I would, if I was going to finish like 6:30, 7 o'clock-ish, anything that I think, I must remember that tomorrow, I'll write that down in my office, you know, and I'll make sure my work is contained in my office, and then I forget about it when I go out. And the other thing I've started doing now that's probably even been more effective is that I schedule in a half hour at the start of my day. Like when I get up, I'm like, right, I'll come down here, I'll write down what I'm going to do today or the things that I need to remember today. So there's no bit of me, even if I think of something as I'm laying in bed or as I'm watching TV at night, I don't need to say, I'm going to write that down, I'm going to do something about that, because I'm like, well, I know that the first half hour of my day
is scheduled in for
I interact with that, I engage with those thoughts, and I decide what I'm going to do. So it helps me switch off when it comes to bedtime.
That's a really good idea. That's a really good thing to do. I know that whereas I don't have like, you know, day to-do lists and stuff, I do know that, you know, the other day I checked my notes page and I had written a note that I don't remember writing at 11 minutes past 3 that was a quote I wanted one of my characters to say in something I'm writing. It obviously come to me like, because I get up a few times in the night to go to the toilet because I'm an old lady and I have an old lady bladder. And I think it was just on the way back from that, I was like, yes, that's the one. But I wrote it down and then I just went back to sleep. I didn't have to then think about the rest of the story or think about the rest of the conversation.
This is the thing. Some people are really good at writing stuff down and getting it out of their head onto the paper. Right, I don't have to.
That's why I journal. I think that's why I write.
Well, you've been doing that for years, like long before you were ever like posting on the internet or anything. Long before social media, you would journal. It was part of what you enjoyed doing. So the trouble is when somebody says you should do this, that'll help you, and then you try it out, and all you're doing is writing things down and then starting to think about them. And because this is the thing, we don't normally write things down to forget them. We write things down to remember or engage with them or address them. So a lot of the time, we've already anchored that behaviour as a stimulus to thought rather than the opposite of that. You know, so
with the schoolwork and studying and stuff, you only write things down to remember it for a test.
Exactly. So it's probably about doing what works for you in these instances. But the other thing is as well, is that, you know, every part of your mind is trying to get you towards happiness. So if you're thinking about something, you're trying to solve a puzzle or you're trying to take action. And a lot of the time, we'll find ourselves thinking about things that are just out of our control. Like what other people are going to do or what's going to happen tomorrow about that thing, you know, all the stuff that we have no control over or even any influence over. And our mind is sort of racing around pondering it all. And it's a completely ineffectual strategy. So this is why when I'm working with people on sleep, I'm trying to get their mind to realise, right, that doesn't achieve anything. Someone said to me once, well, everyone worries, don't they? And you know what? You're probably right on some level, but nobody actually should. Because it's just a bit of your mind rushing around saying, what if, and achieving nothing. You know, and your mind doesn't like to do things that achieve nothing. That's why it feels so uncomfortable to be doing it.
Would it help?
Well, exactly. The old
call back there if you have listened to all of our podcasts.
But anyway, so ruminating is one thing, and you know we can have various strategies to help stop that. You know, but it's going to be kind of doing that thing of reminding yourself, oh, hang on, I don't need to engage with this stuff. Let's address that tomorrow. When we can take action on it.
Not now, when we're in bed.
Precisely. The other thing I've got, and I saw a lot of this again because of my networking, but people that are kind of working while they're laying there at night. So a lady came to see me once for massive sleep issues. She's like, I run my own business. It's an international business. There's emails coming in all hours of the day and night. She said, problem with sleep, it's a waste of time, isn't it? And it's a waste of time, you say. Okay, I think we've discovered the root cause of your sleep issues here.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm not a therapist, and I think even I could figure out what might be the problem.
A red flag went up there, definitely. Well, this is the thing. So but you'll be surprised how often people are regarding those 8 hours in bed as time when they should be working, or the time when nothing's getting done.
Honestly.
But I think we've got to recognise that the most important job you have of any day of your life is the sleep you get at the end of it.
Yeah.
Because it will directly dictate the type of day you have tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think too often people sacrifice sleep to prep for stuff they're doing. Yeah. And the bottom line here is the best version of you that arrives tomorrow at the day is the entirely unprepared yet completely rested version of you. Because the one thing we've all had to do as human beings every day of our life, we've had to deal with the unexpected because we're not fortune tellers.
No.
Apologies for anyone that is a fortune teller out there, but we don't know what's coming.
No.
Life will throw us random challenges, some big, some small, but every day has included the unexpected.
Yeah.
And so what we've had to do is adapt to the unexpected every day.
Yeah.
The only thing that impedes our ability to do that would be a lack of sleep. So if we get our rest,
really big. Yeah. It's such a big thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's why, all animals, humans, everything, they all sleep. We all need sleep.
Exactly. It's a universal. It's what unites us all.
I wonder if aliens sleep.
Well, I mean, are there aliens? I don't know.
There absolutely is.
Oh, this is another topic here. Does anyone want to hear us talk about the potential of aliens existing for an hour?
Can you please, everybody listening, if you would like us to do, and I know we did superstitions, but I'd really like to do a paranormal episode. So if you would like to hear that, please post on social media and let us know.
Oh my God, that's just opened a Pandora's box there, isn't it?
We can talk about Pandora's box.
Brilliant. Okay,
I'm so upset, by the way, that we're not having a child, because if we had a girl, I would call her Pandora.
Obviously, and if it was a boy, we'd call him Duke.
Jack. Oh, Duke.
Well,
Duke or Jack.
Duke or Jack. But Jack, middle name Inner.
Inner?
Yeah. Brilliant. Anyway, the third thing that I've got on my list here of things that can interrupt our sleep, security issues. So the need to remain lightly asleep or partially awake. Yeah, vigilant in case there's a noise, in case something happens. You'll get this, two particular types of people I've found in my practice.
Yeah.
People who've experienced emergencies in the night.
Yes.
So somebody health-wise being in distress, or somebody like literally breaking in, or there being an emergency in the neighbourhood. They've had a fire, something like that.
Yeah.
Or people who've had children.
Yeah.
And have had to remain vigilant for their children if they need them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of women struggle to get back into the habit of just sleeping deeply when they've been used to their sleep being interrupted perpetually during the night.
Generally, one of the reasons why.
Well, this is why we said this before we came. I was going to say on air before we press record on our phones. On air about the idea of in every couple.
Yeah.
There's one that sleeps really well and one that struggles a little bit.
Can anyone guess who is who? Answers on a postcard.
The thing there, though, is that the person who sleeps really well, the fact that they're laying next to somebody who they know will wake up if there needs to be any waking up done before then it helps. So it helps that person sleep even more deeply.
Oh, good.
Because they've got
so pleased.
They've got their security guard sleeping next to them. But of course, then the person who is the security guard sleeps even worse because they know, well,
you ain't listening.
He ain't waking up, is he? Because he's going to sleep right through it.
Yeah. Oh no, I do think that. I do. On the daily.
But yeah, so I mean, maybe again, people can leave us some comments or something whether they've experienced this, because we've yet to find somebody, a couple who they both just sleep really well.
Yes. So yeah, you're either the sleeper or the security guard.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tell us which one you are, the sleeper or the security guard.
I tell you the answer to this though, in terms of how we work as human beings, right?
Yeah.
We actually have a bit of our mind that I refer to as the night watchman. Okay. Oh. So I'm going to do this analogy now. I'm full of analogies. I'll put my book down to gesture while I'm doing this.
He's just nobody can see him.
Yeah, but you can imagine my hand gestures as I do. So if you imagine your mind like an office block, like a tower block, yeah.
So you're going to say ship?
No, normally it's a ship. Yeah, it's like a ship of land.
Okay.
Tower block. Yeah. all the lights are on with people working in their offices, and that's all the different bits of your mind doing the jobs, right?
Yeah.
The top floor, let's imagine that's your conscious. So when those lights go out, you're unconscious.
Right.
Yeah. But of course, there's various lights on in the building with your subconscious working, maybe dreaming, things like that. Yeah. Now, a good night's sleep, for me, is all of those lights going out.
Right.
Yeah. But if you've got like security issues in your mind, you might find certain bits of your mind still the lights are on. Maybe there's bits that your mind's trying to ruminate on, puzzles to solve, old stuff that never got resolved that bit's still working on in that office, Thinking
about that thing you said 12 years ago to somebody on a bus.
Precisely, yeah. And so if you've got any of these lights on, tomorrow, when the rest of the office block wakes up and puts the lights on, that guy's pulled an all-nighter. Right. And so you're left a little bit tired, yeah? Now, the danger here is that you feel like certain lights need to be left on in case you need to wake the top floor up and get conscious again. Right. Yeah? But the way I analogize this is, let's have all the lights going out, because when all those lights go out, there's another light that comes on, and that's the guy in the car park standing around the bin that's on fire to keep warm, yeah? It's the night watchman, right?
Right.
This is the guy that will constantly monitor your surroundings, even when you're unconscious. Okay. So it's the reason why, if we live on the flight path to Heathrow Airport, or if we live with train tracks out of our back garden, you live there for more than a week or two, you stop hearing those noises. You stop waking up because a bit of you says, I know what that noise is and I know it doesn't apply to me. Yeah. I know I can leave that be. But if there's a noise in the kitchen that shouldn't be there, suddenly you're wide awake. Yeah. Right. So I think we should at times trust our mind's ability to monitor its surroundings, even when we are unconscious, because there are bits of us that are kind of are permanently alert without keeping us consciously alert, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And we've all had that experience of something waking us up because we're not quite familiar with it or something like that. Yeah. I had somebody on one of my workshops saying, well, I'm going to work on sleep on this workshop because I've just moved to the countryside. Isn't it noisy in the countryside at night? And I was like, where did you move from? And she said, centre of London. I'm like, so you're telling me the countryside is noisier than the centre of London? And she sort of thought about it and she said, no, it's not, is it, when I think about it? It's very noisy at night in London because there's still people walking around and drunk people and cars and all that sort of stuff. But all of those noises,
she's used to.
She knew them.
Yeah.
She could dismiss them.
It's like when our friend Rachel came to stay, who also lived in central London. Yeah. And she stayed in our room and she woke up, first thing she said to me was, it's very quiet, isn't it? like it was almost like a bad thing. She's like, very, very quiet.
Well, see, that can disturb people who are used to that noise, that sort of like soundtrack of noise. Yeah. That's their comfort, that's their safety. All the silence tells them is something's wrong, isn't it? Why is there no noise, And this is why when we go to a different place in a hotel, it's not really the quality of the bed, it's the fact that your environment is different and that disturbs you subconsciously.
Because you're not used to it.
Exactly. So it's not about, I need to be vigilant because this person next to me won't wake up. You will wake up. Yeah. Your mind will wake you up when it needs to. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that I think we forget that our mind is pretty good at looking after us. Yeah. The final thing that could interrupt our sleep, and I know we've touched upon this but not gone into it in depth. Somebody next to you snoring or making noises that keep you awake.
Yeah, Tim. Someone next to you snoring is really bad,
he
isn't it?
He mentions with hesitance. I don't think I snore, though, do I?
Are you? Oh, I nearly said some really bad words, and I don't want to do that.
No, let's not go there.
You snore, like, not all the time, but if you fall onto your back, which is
quite often
on the regular,
and
you start snoring, and it wakes me up, and I have to physically maneuver you onto your side.
Right, so here's the thing. I'm going to give you the answer now. You'll be pleased about this, I'm sure.
Am I going to want to drown you?
You might do. It could go either way. It's not the noise that keeps you awake, right? Because you've slept through louder noises than that, I guarantee you.
Yeah, so what's your point?
The point is, it's your emotional response to the noise that keeps you awake.
And what might my emotional response be?
I'm thinking anger. It's your frustration and anger.
Yeah.
And that noise now has an attachment with listen to him asleep and here's me wide awake. Yeah.
So what you could do is just shut up.
But this is the thing. Somebody comes to me and says, can you stop me snoring? It's a lot easier job to just get the person who's kept awake by the snoring to now regard the sound as a comforting sound. It means the person I love is alive, is awake, is sleeping soundly.
I don't think I can continue this part of the podcast. I'm getting really rage-filled.
But this is what's keeping you awake, babe. You know what I mean? It's the rage. Do you remember when you were doing your TED talk and Rupert was doing one of his talk as well? He was part of your cohort.
Yeah.
And I was talking. I don't even know why we were talking about it. I was talking about this exact issue, and he's a bit of a snorer apparently. And he said, "Oh, so I just need. So it's actually my wife's problem, not mine."
Oh my God!
And I was like, "Yeah, you toddle off home, Rupert, and tell her that."
But don't tell her I said it.
That's it. And I remember he came back and he said, it didn't go down very well. I don't expect it would have, no. But I don't think that information isn't a solution, because I know the person that's kept awake by someone snoring isn't necessarily going to say, oh, I'm okay then. All I've got to do is stop being angry about it.
Or smother you with a pillow.
Well, I mean, don't take that option, obviously. But we do your normal option, kick me or punch me or roll me over.
Yeah, I'll roll you over. And sometimes I roll you over and you're like, yeah, what is it? What? And I'm like, you're snoring, shut up.
Yeah, see, that's me annoyed. Why are you waking me up, man? I was asleep. Okay, before we go any further, we want to do our top tips.
Yes.
But we did want to talk about dreaming. Just
very briefly.
That can be something that interrupts our quality of sleep if we dream too vividly too much.
Which I do.
We have to do our dream state, by the way. We do dreaming and non-dreaming stages in sleep.
We don't know why we dream, though, do we? Like scientifically,
I think they think it's like just processing of stuff.
But they don't have an actual. No. I believe I might be wrong, but they don't have an actual scientific reason for why we dream, what its purpose is.
Yeah. Basically. Well, I mean, when you think about how random your dreams are, I can see why it's confusing them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, especially like you say the other night when I dreamt I was carol singing and I woke up with my arms in front of me holding a carol book.
The thing about dreaming, right? There's a bit of your mind creating this movie for you to watch, and there's another bit of you
watching the movie,
not knowing what's going to happen.
It's insane. Like if I think about it too much, I get.
Yeah.
But the thing that I find with dreams is that I get really affected by my dreams to the point where if I dreamt that I've had an argument with someone. Yeah. First thing I do when I wake up is text them, and I'm like, "Are you okay? Are we okay? Is everything all right?" And they're like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Weirdo, what?
You've woken up before and looked at me like I'd wronged you in some way because you had a dream about me.
Like you cheated on me, which is what I dreamt. And then I wake up and I go, "How dare you?
Dream cheated.
How dare you, sir? How could you do this to me?" And you're like, "What?" I think the worst one I had for that was when I was a lot younger, and I dreamt before I'd even gone to Disneyland. I think I had dreamt that a friend of mine had stolen my Disneyland tickets.
Oh my God!
I know, and I woke up in a rage, and I messaged them, and I said that I wanted them back, and my friend was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was angry at them for ages, and now we laugh about it now. And every so often they will message me and they'll be like, "Hey, do you remember that time you thought I stole your Disneyland tickets?" But
it's a funny story.
It's a funny story, but you do have like a visceral reaction to it. It's like if you have a sex dream about someone you work with, and then you go into work the next day and you can't look them in the eye.
You've had that happen to you, didn't you?
I've massively had that happen to me, and I had it to the point where, as I say, I had a sex dream, not about someone I fancied. I'd like to point out, did not fancy them. Had a sex dream about them. Next morning, went in. Couldn't look at them, and then my friend who I worked with, after the person who I'd had the dream about left the office kitchen, my friend who had been watching this interaction came up to me and whispered very close to me, "You had a sex dream about them."
It was written all over your face.
Yeah, I was like, "How did you know?" And she was like, "I can tell." I was like, "Do you think they know?" And
that's a superpower, if you could tell that, isn't it?
It was amazing.
Why is it always about people you don't fancy as well? Your mind won't grant you the favour of giving you a sex dream about somebody you really like.
Sometimes sex dreams about celebrities that you like. They're quite common, but you always have sex dreams about people in your actual life that you don't fancy. And
do you think your mind's pondering the possibility?
Do you know what? I don't know this is what I mean by we don't know why we dream. But but the fact that she knew, and then I was paranoid for the rest of the day.
The thing about it is, though, it amazes me how much your mind can create new realities. And so it's one thing sort of creating activities or things that happen in your dream that are random, but the realities that you accept, that you wake up and you realise aren't true. Yeah. Like in your dream you can fly, and then you wake up and like, oh no, I can't fly, can I? And things like that.
You had a good one, didn't you?
Well, the one I always talk about is when I dreamt Bruce Willis was my dad. And in my dream, he was my dad. The thing that was confusing me in my dream was, why hadn't I made more of this? Why hadn't I taken advantage of the fact Bruce Willis is my dad? I could be going on red carpets, meeting lots of famous people, getting into movies myself. I was thinking about
being Captain America.
Exactly. I mean, obviously that's where you got to go straight away. And then I woke up and I was like, no, Bruce Willis isn't my dad. And I remember feeling just a little bit disappointed that he wasn't my dad. And I feel bad now because I'm very happy with my dad. You know, I like my dad. I mean, but he's not Bruce Willis, is he? But I think it is that thing. Our subconscious doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality a lot of the time, which is why when we imagine bad things happening, we have a physical reaction as if they are. You know, it stresses us. So, and that's a quality of our mind, definitely. But it can play against us in those instances.
Yes.
But anyway, so right, I feel like we've just done a skimming stone here. I feel like we could have gone into a lot more, but we want top tips. Yeah,
top tips for sleep, please.
For getting some sleep. The things that I would talk to people about, some of them are habitual things, are actual action things, and some of them are thinking about things slightly different way.
Right.
Okay. Stop work early. Yeah, don't work until you are going to bed. Everyone needs their downtime.
Yeah.
If you were going to have a sports car and you were going at 100 mile an hour and you wanted to stop on a particular spot, you would slow down to stop on that spot. You wouldn't hit the brakes when you hit the spot. Too many people think, I'm going to work. Okay, I'm finished work. Let's go to sleep now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. It doesn't happen. Yeah. You need your downtime of not working.
Yes.
And you need to find some way of compartmentalizing that so that you don't run on into your sleep time.
Yeah. Same with studying, same with anything like that.
Remember, think of sleep as something that happens when you stop. So all you're trying to do is stop rather than trying to get to sleep. Yeah, you don't get to sleep by trying to get to sleep.
Yeah.
Second one, take your devices out of the bedroom.
Yes, said this before,
we've said that with our social media one as well. It's not just the blue light.
And then we bought a bed with a TV in it.
Yeah, okay, but we just watched marble racing on that. But well, here's the thing: if you are doing anything that is functional, like reading or watching something, make sure it's working for you.
It's relaxing.
Yeah, make sure it shuts your mind down and doesn't spark it into action.
Yes.
Yeah. So don't watch a documentary about the planet is doomed or something like that. It's not going to help you. Watch something that's kind of mindless, kind of meaningless, and that you can just stop at the end of it. Third one, like not sleeping is okay.
Interesting.
What I mean by this is, having said for the last hour how important your sleep is, we don't want people laying there thinking, I must get to sleep now. This is paramount. Bottom line here is that if all you do is go to bed, lay in a nice comfortable bed, doing nothing and not having anything to take charge of or to engage with for 8 hours, whether you sleep or not, at least you're getting your rest. At least you're recharging in some way. If you can,
and that's all beneficial.
That's it. And just treat that time as like, great, I don't have to do anything right now. This is downtime, It's like when you're laying on the beach, you're not thinking, oh, I'm bored. You're thinking, oh, this is lovely. The sun's warm. I'm relaxing. I haven't got any responsibilities right now.
Yeah.
That's why we
just
take
chilling.
holidays. Yeah. Think of your 8 hours in bed as a holiday from what's going on in the real world for a while.
Yeah.
And if you do that, what normally happens is you drift off to sleep because
you're doing nothing.
You're not producing any stress.
Nice.
Yeah. And that helps you go off. So don't, as much as we're saying it's important, don't make it so important that it impedes your sleep.
Yeah, that you're then stressing about it.
Yeah, exactly. Fourth one, do what you can to shut your mind down in terms of activity. So you remember I told my story about my mum's advice on one of the podcasts?
Yes.
She said, so I used to struggle to sleep at times when I was a kid. And she said, look, go back to bed, lay down, close your eyes, think of something nice, and you'll be asleep before you know it. And that was the best advice I ever got, because all she was saying was, if you focus your mind on something that doesn't produce any stress response, so something nice, something pleasant, something enjoyable, something without any particular meaning behind it. So, for example, when you were reading your book the other night, you had thoughts about, I don't think I'm going to finish this novel. This is all going wrong. I'm not happy with it.
Yeah.
And then you read in your book this author saying, you always think that. Don't worry. You'll get the other side of it.
Yeah.
And it put that bit of your mind at rest.
Yeah, it stopped me pondering it and thinking about it.
And so whatever you need to do to allow your mind to do whatever it is to do to not produce stress, to shut down in that way, that will always help you get to sleep. You'll be asleep before you can go too far into that nice thought.
I like that.
Yeah. And finally, last one, I would say, is trust your subconscious to wake you if it needs to and let you sleep if you don't need to wake. Yeah. And this is what we're talking about, the old the night watchman thing again.
Yes.
Don't feel like you have to remain vigilant when actually you're not there to be vigilant. You're there to
No.
sleep.
Yeah. If anything happens, you'll wake up and deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. As we have many times in our life.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's my top tips. I know they're not the exact top tips I would always give, but I felt that they were relevant to what we've spoken about today.
No, very much so, I think. And
there's loads more we could give, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Every topic that we do, there is so much we can say about it, but we want to try and condense it into roughly an hour. I know we've gone a little bit over, but roughly an hour for you, just to give you a little bit of insight and to hopefully make you smile and bring you something positive in this weird world that we're in.
Lovely. So, socials, where can people find us, Britt?
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram at Britt Box, and you can find Tim at Tim Box Mind Coach. Thank you as always for listening to the podcast. We really appreciate you guys, especially as well when you post pictures on your Instagram stories, you tag us. We love knowing where you are when you're listening, because without you guys listening, we're just two people talking in a room. So we really do appreciate it. Thank you ever so much for listening again, guys. And we will see you next time. And until then, keep thinking
outside the box.
Sweet dreams.
Bye-bye.